January 1st, 2026. We started the year off with a shock. We woke up to a shock. With what happened in Crans-Montana, in Switzerland, dozens of people my age, trapped in a bar filled with flames. What a shocking tragedy. But shocking as well, the thought of sudden shootings of innocent people, forced migrations, a virus paralyzing the entire world, to even failing your math exam. Fact is, we all encounter moments of shock. Think about your latest moment of shock, whether it was today, yesterday, or even some time ago. Try to remember, try to contact how it felt, what it triggered. Take a look to the person to your right, or to your left. Think about how most probably everyone in this audience is now thinking of a sudden moment of shock that they've encountered, either at a personal, national, or even global level. Shocks are inevitable in all their forms. As research has shown, shocks are inevitable. And today I want us to talk about how impasses happen to everyone. And one cannot choose what shocks us when confronted with reality. But as we know, we can choose what we do upon that shock. We all know of those specific moments in which we encounter reality face to face. And sometimes it's in its harshest and crudest forms when we are tempted to be paralyzed. But it is then when a sudden sense of urge can move us to respond. Times of paralysis is what sometimes people can consider as an impasse. It is the state when you feel that there is no next possible alternative to go to. Most people believe that the end of a road is a dead end. But as time has shown, this can be the moment when transformation begins. As research has shown, an impasse is often unmerited. According to a Science Direct article by Ross and Erfinib, we do have the tools we need to confront this state. But it is the fog of confusion that blinds us. But yet, within that stillness lies potential. Change doesn't start when things are easy and still. Change starts when something moves us in a way that we can't stay still anymore. Humanity has achieved what was once deemed as impossible. Wars have ended. Stereotypes have been dismantled. Rights have been won. And boundaries, once seen as unnavigable, have been crossed. Through this impasse, we have also seen things in a more micro or personal aspect. So, imagine someone who only went to therapy after hitting an emotional issue, or a family that reconnected only after a serious loss, to even emergency procedures being signaled only after a serious accident. These moments didn't arise from comfort, they arose from disruption. This has been seen, that humans tend to shut down their mind, quit, and retreat once an undesirable place has been reached. But this is what we should do. Stage 1, stop. Stage 2, reflect. And stage 3, reimagine. Now, as much as this might seem simple, let's think it like this. Stopping is always essential, because why would we voluntarily keep walking towards the tip of a cliff? Stopping to me sounds like an alternative where you not only avoid falling into the void, but you also gain a sense of awareness and presence as an opportunity to reflect opens. Because reflecting isn't just thinking. It's the ability to connect our thoughts to our insights, beliefs, and emotions. As Marcel Proust once reminded us, you don't only think with your minds. He wrote about small sensory moments. One of his big examples being the Madeleine moment. Using a Madeleine to reveal a new way of seeing reality. Which leads me to wonder, if such wisdom can come from something as small as a pastry, imagine the possibilities we could unlock by paying attention to our instincts. which leads me to reimagine. When you reimagine, that's when your creativity and intuition meet to spark an impulse that drives you towards something different, towards a different emotional place, a place where you no longer feel burdened, but inspired to envision something new. But although these three steps are indispensable, what leads us to take action is something that Thomas Edison once said: vision without execution is hallucination. So, why do we stay stuck, even if we know better? I didn't fully understand this until I experienced it myself. A place when I saw reality right in front of me was when COVID-19 arrived in Mexico. I remember the exact feeling. For a moment, the world paused. And so did I. That's shock that happened to me. But stopping, reflecting, and reimagining was what led me to act upon my shock and transform something new. Because as much as I was shocked that my education was going to be disrupted, that's when I took perspective and thought about all the other education of thousands of children in my country, that their education would be completely stopped. No internet, no access, no lessons on Monday, nothing. I stopped, empathized, and did the best I could to place myself in the shoes of the children that were going to be imposed with the same boundaries as I was, the same barriers, and the same drastic measures, but were going to live this change in a completely different way than I was. I couldn't go to school, and that was a shock. Why would my education be paused? Why couldn't I see my friends? Why was I at home at 11 a.m. on a Tuesday? Why was my father at home at 11 a.m. on a Tuesday? Why was I using a new app called Zoom? Why did I need a code to get into my classroom? But then, after picturing thousands of other scenarios, but now thinking about the children who had zero access to technology, how would they keep learning? How would they see their friends? How would their parents keep working? And in many other cases as well. Was being at home even safe? Was it safer to be out in the streets exposed to COVID? Was it even more dangerous than being at home, in your own home? Then, reimagining. Reimagining made me take a stop, because what I wanted was to reach to the children that their education would be completely stopped, to let them know that their education would actually not be left behind. Realizing all of this, it led me to actually empathize with what was happening and with all these children, and to let them know that it would actually not be stopped. So that is when I took action. I decided to create an educational movement called Todos Aprendemos, where the idea that we created together amongst me and different organizations and people, the people I cherished, the people I looked up to the most, from large organizations like Ashoka, Save the Children, UNICEF, and Teach for All Mexico, even to my next door neighbor, and my friends, and many other children. Together, we were able to reach over 40,000 children with educational kits, materials, and guides, so that they knew that they wouldn't be left behind. When I think how intuitive this child-to-child movement was for me at just 11 years old, and now think about the current times I struggle to abandon a stage of impasse, I realize overcoming an impasse with an impulse might not always be as intuitive. Well, it sure isn't for me right now. But as we can see, and as time has taught as well, certain methods and tools can allow us to overcome this stage of impasse, to overcome that barrier that we impose to ourselves. Because shocks can be turning points, places where frustration, fear, and disappointment can be turned into purpose. Reality shocks don't have to be endpoints. So, what I want you to take from this, what I want you to think right now, is that stopping with awareness, reflecting with intuition, and reimagining with hope and creativity can lead us to something new, to something greater. Because we sometimes don't know, but we're sitting in an impasse, but we're sitting on a spring. And that spring, the moment you take a push forward, that's an impulse. Because an impulse isn't the opposite of an impasse. An impasse doesn't have to be the end of the story, but it can be a push towards writing a new chapter. Thank you.